All available experts, please report to room A9.
Hello guys, Exeter here, and welcome to Clockworks. This is what the module will look like. There will be these 5 other sort of sphere objects. Well, not really spheres, more just like player pieces. And a big arrow in the middle. The aim of this is just going to be winning a game of 6-player Clockworks. So how does Clockworks work? Each player is represented by a unique colour. As you can see here, we've been given cyan. Cyan here. Each player possesses a 0, a 1 and a special card. The special cards are described down here. For red, we get a +2. So that means that's what the red has here. And for example, the one we have is cyan. If a player is pointed at by the arrow in this round, they are not removed from the game. Basically, it's sort of a shield, as the icon represents. So, each turn, every player plays a card at the same time, and the arrow in the middle of the module will spin that many times and take into account any special cards. At the end of the turn, the player the arrow is pointing at loses and is removed from the game. Afterwards, the arrow turns clockwise to point at the next living player. So as soon as someone goes out, let's say yellow here, it'll eliminate them and then move to the orange player here. And special cards can only be used once.
Emergency cleared.
So,
all personnel, please return to your stations.
Oh yeah, and also the last player standing is the winner, of course. But of course, we don't really want to play this game completely down to luck. So we can actually predict how the other players are going to act. Which is this. Interpret the first 2 characters of a serial number as individual base 36 characters. So we're going to take both the characters but separately. And base 36. If you know base 36, it's the numbers 0 to 9, and then you add on the alphabetic position of each letter for the rest of the numbers. So it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10 would be A, 11 would be B, and so on. So in this case, we have A and R, which alphabetic positions are 1 and 18. Add 9 onto those, that's the other way you can do it. Alphabetic position plus 9. You get 10 and 27. Right, 27, 27. Add these numbers together, which gives us 37. Yeah. Modulo the sum by 6. 36 is 6 squared. So 37 mod 6 is going to be 1. And add 1, 2. Call this find number n. Send the player in the bottom left, in this case the red player, the personality associated with the end character serial number. So going clockwise, red is going to be getting the second character of the serial number, which is R. Blue is getting 5. Green is also getting R. Yellow is getting E. And orange is getting 6. The A is completely ignored. Basically, we don't have a personality type. We just play how we see fit. So now let's translate these characters into the personality types. There are some interesting personality types. For example, if you get the letter J as one of them, the player just is always threatened. Just always feels like they're going to go out on the next round. Anyway, so let's find each of these characters. So R is copycat. Oh yeah, this is an interesting one. Moving to the player on the right's personality. So if they were sitting in their chair, you would look to the right and you would do the same thing, like have the same mindset as the person to your right. But of course, if you look at the seer here, they mimic the player on the left, and of course, if the copycat and the seer both try to copy each other, you get stuck in some sort of loop there. So if either of them look at each other, they act as traumatized each other, copycat, or paranoiac if you're a seer, whether it's each other or you because you don't have a personality type either. Sorry, I can't speak today. So both the R's here are going to get different things, I think, actually, because red is a copycat, but the player to its right is me. So they're actually going to act as traumatized. Traumatized being is threatened when the arrow is pointing at them. So we should note down when arrow is pointing at them. We can't figure out the green one yet until we figured out what the blue one is. So let's figure out what the blue one is. The blue one is 5. They are an occultist. It's threatened when the number of removed players is odd. Removed is odd. That is players who have already gone out. So in this case, no one's gone out, which is even in this case. And now we know that green does exactly the same thing as the player on their right. So they're also going to be waiting for when the removed is odd. Yellow has E. This is the opposite one. Strange, it's when the number of removed players is even. Removed is even. Same sort of thing. They feel threatened when there's 0, 2, 4 players eliminated. And finally, orange has 6, and they are traumatized, which is when the arrow is pointing at them. So we actually didn't get very many different ones here. I'll go through the rest of them at the end. And now we're going to figure out how they act. So also with what they when they feel threatened, we have to find out what they do when they feel threatened. So when the arrow is red gets there. So we need the letters again for this. Apologies. So R, 5, R, E, and 6. So we need the letters again, and we need to see what range they're in. So for the 2 R's here, that this is within N to Z, so they act as passive. Same with the 5 and the 6 here. And the E here is the only one who acts as active. The difference between these, you can see there's basically the 0 and 1's being flipped around. If a player is threatened and they're active, they'll play a 1 unless their number, what would be 5 removed players, are left. Then they'll play a special card. That's actually exactly the same here. And then otherwise they'll play the other card because they can't play nothing. So let's really figure out what their special card number is. You don't have to do this many notes, you can just work it out on the fly, but I'm just making it a bit more obvious when it happens. So each of their numbers modulo 5. So we have R, which is 18 plus 9, mod 5. So 2, this one's going to be 2 as well. 5 mod 5 is 0. So this player can, if they feel threatened, which they won't, but if they were, they would have played their special card on the first round. We have E, which is 5 plus 9, which is 4. And finally, 6 mod 5 is 1. So now we know how many players there have to be removed, so that when they feel threatened, they will play their special card rather than the card they would normally play. Now, I think we finally have enough information here to get started. So, now let's figure out who feels threatened on this first round to figure out where the arrow will go. So, RBGYO. I'll put it here and I'll put a star underneath them if they feel threatened. So let's go through each one. When the arrow is pointing at them, it's not pointing at them, so they don't feel threatened. Removed is not odd for either of these two, so they don't feel threatened. However, yellow will feel threatened, because removed is even, we haven't removed anyone. So they feel threatened. And it's not pointing at orange either. So now we look at their threat management sort of course of action to figure out what numbers they're going to play. So, interestingly enough, the only active player is the one that felt threatened. So if we look here, if they feel threatened, they play a 1. And then, since we know that the other ones is going to be the opposite way round, since none of them feel threatened, they will also be playing 1s. So in this case, we're getting everyone playing 1 on this round, which if we see what happens there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we won't go out if that's the case. So we can safely play a 0 and be safe. And now the arrow goes from the orange player back onto us because we're the next player around. You just see we didn't have any special cards go off there, hence why we didn't have to check anything there. But now let's go round again, but now we don't have to consider the orange player anymore, so we can get rid of them entirely. So, let's check who feels threatened again. So, when the arrow is pointing at them, still not pointing at them. Removed is odd, both of these players now feel threatened because we've removed one person, but yellow now doesn't feel threatened at all. And also we can see no one is going to play their special card again, because actually blue won't be able to play their special card now. These three can still possibly though. But since there's only one player removed and that's not equal to 0, 2 or 4, no special cards will be played, so we can just evaluate these as normal. So the red player is passive and not threatened, so that's a 1. Blue is passive and threatened, so 0. Green is passive and threatened, so 0. And yellow is active and not threatened, so they play 1. No, they play 0. They're active and not threatened. They play 0. So it's going to move 1. We can safely play actually whatever we want here. I'd suggest only these two though, because it's not going to get back round to us. So now it's pointing at the green player, and we can get rid of the blue player. Let's do it again. who feels threatened this time. Arrow pointing at them. It's not pointing at red, it's pointing at green. So, red doesn't feel threatened. Does green feel threatened? Removed is even, so no. But again, yellow now feels threatened again. Because removed is even, 1, 2. So, now let's check what they're going to do. Both red and green are passive and unthreatened. Passive and unthreatened is 1. And yellow is active and threatened. So they also play a 1. And their special card rule doesn't apply. So, 1, 2, 3. We will probably be safe here. But is there any player we really want to get rid of? I actually probably prefer getting rid of the green here. So there's less. Actually, we would have probably preferred getting rid of the yellow so we don't have to consider for active players. So let's just play 0 just to get red out then. So now we're back up at the green player here. And we can ignore the red player. Okay. So we can get rid of the red player here. And now we only have to really consider removed is odd or even. So actually these two are going to keep on swapping between each other. So in this case we now know, since we have 3 removed players, removed is odd is going to be active. And the special card for this one can't be active anymore because we've got more than 2 players removed now. So, green is passive and threatened, so they're going to play a 0. And then yellow is active and not threatened, so they also play a 0. So if we also play a 0, we can get rid of the green player. But since there's a chance the yellow player can use their special rule, I'd actually probably rather get rid of them instead. Using their special rule on the next round. So let's play a 1 to move it round to the yellow player. So now we are on the final round. It's us, the cyan player, versus them, the green player. Number of removed people is odd, so they don't feel threatened either. Meaning that the green player, since the special card is 2, we don't have to check that anymore. And the green player is passive and not threatened, so they're going to play a 1, which would actually get rid of them. So we can just play a 0. And we win the game. Pretty sure you can basically win the game no matter what without using the special cards. But let me quickly go through each of the special cards and then all of the personality types as well. Okay, so red is just a very simple one. Instead of the dial moving around once, it will move around twice for their card being put down. So keep wary of that it might go one more than you would expect. Of course, one that can completely counteract that is blue here. This one subtracts 1 from number of spins, and if the number of spins ends up being negative because of this, again, -1, the arrow actually spins counterclockwise, so be wary of that as well. Orange, if there are 3 or fewer removed players, so 3 or fewer removed players, so the orange card can only really be played in the first 3 rounds. Would that be right? Yeah. It will double the number of the spins that round. So the total number of clockwise rotations that it will generate gets doubled, so you have to make sure if you did all the cards twice, would it get back to you to make sure. Yellow, the arrow will point out the player opposite of the initial pointed player. If that player is removed, keep going clockwise until you've found a standing player. And there's a note down here. The orange special effect cancels the yellow one. The arrow goes back to the point the player pointed at the start of the round. So if yellow plays this card, but then orange also plays this card, then the effect of this is completely ignored. The green player could just basically play as if they're... Because you could sort of explain it as they can play as if they were out when there's 3 or fewer removed players. Basically, the arrow goes past them like they weren't even there. So effectively it acts as the same as a +2. But it basically just saves them if it would land on them. Similar for the cyan one here. But in this case, if they get pointed at by the arrow, then nothing happens. So it's basically, if you're at a situation where you physically can't get out of it, I'm not sure if there is actually a situation like that. There probably would be. I don't know, actually. Anyway, this is acts as a shield, and I've explained the blue already. So now let's go to the personality types. The ones we had were traumatized, copycat, technically seer as well. I explained that. Stranger occultist, and I explained paranoiac. So now we just need to explain these top ones. Toxic always plays ones. So we completely ignore the threat management here. They're always playing ones unless this value of players, C being the serial character, like I did for this. Actually, I don't think I explained that, did I? The C mod 5 here is just the letter that they were given in base 36. And then they only play ones unless this many players, then they play their special cards. And then half dead is the exact opposite of that. They only play zeros on their special card. Calculating. They are threatened if the arrow will be pointing at them if L/2, L being number of players left in the game, rounded down. So at the start of the game, there's 6 of you. So if you will be pointing at them after 3 rotations, they will immediately feel threatened. Empathetic, oh, this is an interesting one. It's threatened if they are seen next to the player there is pointing at. So it's the same as traumatized, but they don't have to be the one pointed at, they had to be next to the one that's pointing at. Apprehensive feels threatened if the arrow will be pointing at them after. So it's similar to calculating, but it will use this value instead, which is their number mod 6 plus 1. And finally, the time traveler is threatened if the arrow will be pointing at them. So it's the same as apprehensive, but they only do it as if the arrow was pointing the other, spinning the other way. Which explains the name Time Traveler, but I feel like it's a weird way of playing this game. So hopefully I've explained everything here. So that was Clockworks. Sorry for the really long explanation. I could probably have done that quicker, but I guess I'm stumbling on my words a bit, so I apologise for that. But hopefully this module makes a bit more sense now, and I'll see you guys in the next tutorial. I'll see you later.